Hey, welcome to another edition of the Pigskin Preview here at Wings to Go. I'm Dave Ruthenberg, sports editor at the Enid News Eagle, and along with me, as always, is our own gridiron guru, Brian Hacker from Wings to Go. Welcome, Brian.
Well, thank you. Good. Another week of high school football down.
Yeah, it sure was. You know, we kind of are now in that stretch run, I think. Now as things really are sorting out, and we're getting a good idea where everybody stands, and I think we started to see that last week already a little bit with Enid.
With Enid, definitely. They go on the road. They go to Sand Springs. They have a tough time of it in the first half. Yeah. They pull it through in the end, and they get full district points, so that helps out tremendously.
They did. It was a 15-point win, but it was a very frustrating 15-point win for Coach Parker, who was maybe one of the unhappiest coaches I've seen after a victory. He kind of feels like the team is kind of playing to its competition, and I think we've seen that all year.
Yeah, they play like OSU. They're going to their competition, but they're winning, and that's the key. Winning cures all evils, and they've won. They can come home this week and play Bixby.
Playing Bixby, I think another game that they should be able to pull off and continue rolling until they get into that the end of the season is going to be the tough part of their schedule, but I think they're rolling really well. And you know, a couple of shout outs maybe to a couple of players who have already put their names in the record books for Enid.
Yeah, definitely.
One of those is Jonathan Burton. They're leading everything, it seems. They're leading tackler, rusher, receiver, and he has just done a tremendous job throughout his career. Now is number 2 all time behind Lydell Carr in rushing yards.
That's a big name to be number 2 behind, but I tell you what, that's like being number 1 in most schools. So that's a tremendous job, Jonathan. We said at the beginning of the season, Enid goes as Jonathan goes, and he's going well, and so is Enid.
He's having a great year, and the O-line is doing a great job, as well as creating some running room. And another player that kind of came out of the blue is a young man who never played football until this year, played soccer, tried out, and he's the place kicker, J.P. Maciel, who already, he's 11 for 11 in field goals, including, 45 yards and in, we're talking about. And that makes him tied all-time careers in field goals at Enid already.
That is tremendous, and he's got one game left to do it. So here we go. We're going up against Bixby. We're going to play against a team that we don't know a lot about because they're really bad at home.
Right.
They're really good on the road. Yeah. They're 2-1. So, Enid, be ready for a team that is road-worthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one measure that I always measure opponents by is how bad did they lose to Union? And they only lost 28-3 to Union.
Right. So, Bixby can't play ball, and they're going to come to Enid, and they, like I said, they are 2-1 on the road, and they can play ball. And Eckert's throwing for 187 yards. Right. Lemon's running for 43. Thompson averaging 2 sacks a game. So they're playing both sides of the ball. Really
going to be a very action-packed game, I think, this Friday at Deep Bruce Selby Stadium. But I think the Plainsmen come away with another district win.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Hey, OBA got back on the winning track last week. They welcomed in Texoma and took care of business against Texoma 48-0. And they get another home game this week against another, I think, fairly difficult team, and that's Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas comes in. They're 5-1. They lost to O'Keene. They did beat Turpin 38-7. Everybody else they've had has had losing records. So Thomas is coming into OBA, who lost a couple of weeks ago on a bad road game to Beaver. But you lose on a road game to Beaver, and you fall out of the top 10. But Beaver's ranked in the top 10 now, so OBA deserves a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, they do. I thought that was awfully harsh that they fell out of the rankings based on that one loss against what is turning out to be a very respectable Beaver squad. And we see with Texoma, and they're having to travel to OBA, how difficult that travel is on these teams.
Road trips do that. Thomas coming in, they're 5-1. They're going to be a tough team for OBA, but again, show what you got at home and take care of it.
Yep, I think OBA gets back on track and starts motoring back into the playoff picture.
I agree.
All right, the Mustangs of Pioneer have a home game this weekend. They're welcoming in Wellston, a team with a similar record of 1-5.
Wellston, similar record, but not a similar schedule. Pioneer has played the toughest teams in the state in their class.
They have.
And they've come out 1-5. They've held respectable games. They've got blown out a few games, but going up against Wellston, I'm looking at their records. Both teams have played Minko.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm comparing the two at.
Yeah, and they're very similar there. And as you mentioned, if there is a strength of schedule difference, it definitely favors Pioneer. And I think that's going to set them up well. I think they come away with their second win of the season playing at home this Friday.
Very well should. They've got bright things ahead of them because most of their schedule is teams with losing records ahead of them. Pioneer, had they had the schedule Wellston had, they would have a winning record right now.
Absolutely, I agree with that. So we'll see if Pioneer gets back on track here. I think they will, and start rolling and maybe wind up the season on a good note down the road.
Let's hope.
Hey, we we got a pretty big game coming up at Covington Douglas this week, too, with Waukomis visiting. I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Waukomis is playing some good football lately, and we know how Covington Douglas has been playing.
Covington Douglas is rolling. They've got the steamroller going downhill, and Waukomis coming in there. They are playing good ball. They're going to have to play the best game of their lives to be in that game and to win, but they can do it.
Yeah, they can do it. Mike Builder, his squad at Waukomis, they rode a young man, I think his name is Terrell, last week for 41 times for over 300 yards. So they can establish that kind of ground game. I think that's what they're going to need to do to prevail.
Right, and Covington is the power of the class, but I think they're going to come away with the victory. I don't think they're going to 48 them though, so that's a big deal.
No, I don't think it'll be that severe, but I think this is a great game. Maybe if the fans are looking for another game to go to, and head on out there and watch a very competitive, entertaining game with Waukomis and Covington Douglas.
Right.
Also, this week we got Chism hosting Tonkawa.
Tonkawa.
Yeah, I am a northern guy, and I'm going to get these names right, trust me. Anyway, Chism's hosting that team for homecoming this weekend and looking for their first win.
Yeah, Tonkawa comes in. I think they're 3-3. Chism is 0-for. And the big chance for Chism, it's homecoming. Get motivated. The girls are going to be in their pretty dresses. You're going to have a homecoming king and queen. Get a touchdown. Score some points. The boys are trying real hard. Their JV team is doing a really good job. And most of the guys are playing JV and varsity. So you've got a future, again, at Chism. Guys, go out and represent this week at home. And we're going to have a big crowd, some alumni there. Represent Chism well.
Yeah, it's homecoming. Score some points. All right, hey, we have another big matchup in the area coming up in DCLA #1. Traveling to Forgan, #2.
Yeah, the road trips, Forgan's at home, and they know #1's coming. You know that's plastered all over the locker room. It's going to be a heck of a deal going on there in Forgan. That's a bit of a road trip, too.
It is, you know, and Forgan struggled a little last week against a good Sharon Mutual team. They beat them 14-8. DCLA, they've beaten only one team so far this year with a winning record, and that was Medford, who they beat handily 44-8. So kind of a little bit of a test here for DCLA, more than they've been tested, I think, so far this year.
Right, and you're going on the road for that test. So it's going to be a good matchup, good, solid smash mouth 8-man football. I honestly, I'm going to call the upset. I'm going to call Forgan because they are the home team. I'm going to give them the edge there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go that way too because home field, I've learned an 8-man means an awful lot.
It is huge.
Let's switch over to the collegiate ranks, Brian, and talk a little bit about OU first off.
OU coming off a bye week. You got Texas under your belt. That's a big win. Now you've got Iowa State. You're welcoming them into your house. Yeah,
an Iowa State team that just got obliterated by number 10 Utah last week, 68-27. This is the kind of game I think OU needs, that they need to really roll. They need to rack up some points and kind of, you know, get that going again. They've been winning, but not in impressive fashion.
They haven't been blowing people out. They've been getting ahead and letting them back in. And you got an Iowa State team that just 2 weeks ago beat Texas Tech in a huge upset.
Right.
Texas Tech goes into Iowa State and was a 7-point favorite. So you got Iowa State coming in who they're hot and cold. You don't know what team you're going to get with Iowa State. Right. OU being 24-point favorites. If you're OU fans, you want to cover that spread this week. You want to show you can beat a team and blow them out.
Yeah, I'll predict they'll be up by 24 points by the third quarter. And then the question is, do they maintain it or do they fall back like we've seen them do so often this year?
I agree. In the third quarter, do they take out the foot off the gas, they let them back in,
right,
or do they keep the pedal down and they beat them by 40? If I'm an OU fan, I want to see them win by 40. Game's going to be on what? It's 6:30 on local TV, I think, or not on local TV, on Fox Sports. We're going to have it here at Wings to Go and a great crowd to watch it.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. It's just a game OU makes a statement. That's what we're looking for.
They have to make that statement because you've got a lot of teams ahead of you that are making bigger statements if you want to get into a BCS bowl game.
Absolutely. Hey, let's talk about Oklahoma State now. They're number 20 in the rankings. They're moving up. They went on the road last week. They played Louisiana Lafayette. I know a lot of people were getting nervous during that game when they were down, but they took care of business.
You're nervous at halftime with OSU in every game they played so far this season, but they've got the second half mojo. It's like they go in the locker room, they game plan, they correct what the other team's doing, and they pick it back up. Right. You're going into Texas Tech this week on a 2:30 in the afternoon game. Happy hour at Wings to Go. 99 cent drafts all afternoon. And Texas Tech is a 3.5 2.5 point favorite.
Yeah. So, and I think there's a reason for that. They play tough at home, and OSU is shown again. Who have they played? And and they've had some close. You can't read a lot into that Louisiana Lafayette game because that is such a tough environment to play in. So it's going to be interesting to see now how they play on the road in the conference against a fairly decent team.
Against a fairly decent team, you're going to be catching flying tortillas flying over your head the entire game. That is going to be a good game, and it's going to be scoring. It's going to be, if you watch the Texas Tech and Baylor game earlier last week, it's the first one to 40, first one to 50 in this game. And can OSU score as well as Texas Tech can?
That'll be the key.
Yeah, no defense.
So. And speaking of first one to 40, that's usually been the formula for victory for Tulsa. But if they could have gotten to 20 or 23 points, they would have won last week. A really surprising low-scoring loss to SMU, 21-18.
Well, I agree. Not only low-scoring with SMU, because SMU is a high-powered offense also. So two teams that played defense or didn't play offense very well, one or the other. Tulsa's bringing in Tulane. Tulane's 2-3, and that's a game they should win by 3 touchdowns. Tulsa should just absolutely annihilate Tulane. Not one of the powerhouses, and being an 18-point favorite, they should be able to take care of business at home.
Yeah, I agree. Tulane lost by 18 to Army last week, so it kind of gives you an idea of where they're at with their program. This is a game, I think, much like OU, where Tulsa needs a game like this. They need to make a statement, and they need to start making a move in Conference USA if they hope to get a bowl bid.
They're going to have to get a bowl bid, but to get a good bowl bid or even get in the conference championship.
That's right. We'll see how they do. We'll see how our teams do this week.
We'll see how they go, and see you guys next week.
Thanks for joining us here at Wings to Go.